Hi, this is my second interview with one of our site coordinators in instructional technology. I'm Josh Dillard, and I'm going to be sitting down and asking a few questions to my interviewee here. So we'll start off our interview with a couple of questions. We're super base level. Tell me your name and your title or role and what schools you service.
Sure. My name is Ryan Jones. I'm an instructional technology specialist, and I'm working at two elementary schools this year, Rocky Branch Elementary and Malcolm Bridge Elementary School.
Awesome. How long have you been in the position that you're currently in?
This is my fourth year as an ITS. The previous three, I was split elementary for half of my job and then middle school for half, but it's kind of nice being all elementary this year.
Sure, absolutely. So you've been there for a while. What requirements are there for your position, degree-wise? What requirements would you have to have?
I think a master's is probably encouraged. Definitely at least a bachelor's degree with an active teaching certificate. I'd say that's like your minimum requirements, but it's definitely encouraged to have those at least a master's degree. That's what I have is a master's degree, and it's not in instructional technology. My master's is actually just in science education, middle grades. So kind of a wide variety there, but yeah, at a minimum, you got to have a 4-year plus a valid teaching cert, definitely.
Sure. So you do have a teaching cert. Did you spend time in the classroom before this role, or what was your background?
Yeah, I actually taught in the classroom for 11 years. So
Okay.
10 years in 7th grade, 1 year in 6th grade. And then this job kind of opened up and it just felt like the right fit for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're split between two elementary schools. Tell me in just, I don't know, a couple of sentences, what would you say your job responsibility is as an ITS?
Yeah, I'm strictly support. One thing that kind of gets a little confusing, I guess, for teachers is the fact that I'm there a couple of days a week. It almost feels like administrative, but it is definitely not administrative. So I am strictly the support side, primarily instructional based. So using technology in the classroom. That's my primary goal, is to support that. I will say there's a bit of blurred lines between instructional technology and curriculum and instruction. So we end up doing some curriculum design and implementation there as well. So it's a bit of the curriculum piece mixed in with the technology piece. But generally speaking, day to day, I just check in with my teachers, lead trainings every couple of weeks on either district or school-led initiatives. Our big one this year is obviously just the push out of our new learning management system, Canvas, which it's going well, I think. There's definitely a little bit of pushback from some teachers just in general. Why can't we use Google Classroom, for instance? It's a question that I see periodically. But for the most part, people are embracing it. It's really what's best, I think, for the students is the key there.
For sure. So two schools, ballpark guess, how many people would you say between the two would you, quote unquote, be of service to?
Yeah, I mean, around 100. It may be a few more being split between the two, but it's roughly 50 teachers a school, I would say.
Yeah. Rollout of Canvas. You talked about a little bit of a pushback. Tell me the good side of this new switch from its learning to Canvas. Have there been some positives so far?
Yeah, I mean, just platform stability is a huge thing. Its learning is what we came from previously, which was obviously it didn't feel like kind of like the premier LMS. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's kind of how it was. I mean, it worked okay, and we kind of piecemealed it together throughout the years, but it was never something that worked as effectively as we wanted it to. I can already see just 6 months of Canvas. I mean, 6 months on my end, it's really just been a month with students and teachers. I can already see us meeting a lot of those goals that we've set for the platform. The goal behind that is to be this one-stop shop where, right now it's teachers and students go there daily. Instruction is led through that platform. Starting in January, we'll also have parents in there. So it's going to be this one place, or it should be this one place where anybody can go and kind of figure out what's going on in that student's day or in that teacher's classroom.
Sure. I like that. We've had great success at North Oconee. Some holdouts for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just like the simplicity and the integration that we've seen so far. So it's been a good on my end.
Yeah, the integration component is one of those ones that's been it's like a big win, but it's also been a big challenge, just because a lot of the curriculum that we adopted over the years, we didn't really, I mean, it was decisions were made before I
Didn't
was
think about
here.
it. Sure.
It wouldn't even be decisions that I would make, but a lot of them
Yeah.
don't have the type of integrations that we need, these LTIs or these deep linking, to be able to fully integrate inside. So I know like collections is one of the ones that our language arts teachers use, especially at the middle school level. And it kind of is just a repository of PDFs at this point, where a lot of the ones that we, if we had known then what we know now, we
That's
probably
right.
would have gone with something else that
Sure.
maybe has the little more direct integration. Yeah.
Yeah. So being at two schools, a week, you said you spent maybe a couple of days at each school. Tell me what an average week might look like for you,
Sure.
with a
Yeah.
split
Yeah.
school roster.
So Monday and Tuesday, I go to Malcolm Ridge Elementary. That's kind of
Okay.
every week. Those are my two dedicated days there. Wednesdays and Thursdays are my Rocky Branch days. And then Friday, I consider like my office hours. So I get to go to an office, kind of really like have some work time to build is really what I kind of take that as. On a week where I don't train, the first day I'm at one of my schools. So this week on Monday, I went and I talked to every teacher at Malcolm Ridge Elementary. And I was just generally just to check in. Hey, what do you need? Spur of the moment, what can I help you with? Teachers also have the opportunity to like book time with me. I had two 30-minute bookings today. So fairly, not a lot of bookings. On some weeks are obviously a lot more packed than that. But generally the way I work is my first day at a school, if I'm not training, I go check in with everybody, just kind of get a feel for what they're working on, what they need help with, what types of activities I can help find resources for. And then the second day I'm at those schools, I'm more like just available for bookings. And that gives me time to plan and build and research or create resources for those teachers. So this week I have training at one school, but not at the other. So today I checked in with all my teachers. Tomorrow I will just kind of be on call, but working on a few things with that I've kind of got appointed, I guess, today.
Sure.
And then so at Rocky Branch on Wednesday, I will do my weekly check-in on Wednesday, and then I'll lead a all-day PL on Thursday. And the way that PL works, at least the way that I've led them, is I meet with each grade level during their planning period. And then I also have an after school session for anybody that couldn't make it during their planning period or that doesn't fit neatly into one of those groups. So a lot of times my after school session is with the SPED teachers or the EIP teachers, ESOL, speech, things like that, where they don't have that chunk of time that lines up nicely with one of the grade levels.
Sure.
Yeah. So typically it's 2 trainings per month, alternating weeks. So it's usually like the second and fourth week of each month. That does change, month to month, school to school. Primarily we're leading trainings on this Canvas rollout, of course.
Yeah.
But there are school-based initiatives at Rocky Branch. They're working with STEAM. So my alternate trainings, my second trainings each month really is kind of like a school specific one. So I'll be working with teachers on whatever they need related to that initiative that's specific to the school, rather than our kind of countywide Canvas push.
In terms of your meeting with teachers and being available, how would you say, from your own perception, is that welcomed by teachers? Do you think that for you checking in and being available, which I love the availability, that's amazing, my own personal, but how has the, I guess, response been to your own just presence within the schools?
I think it's received really well. It's been nice, especially at Malcolm Ridge, because this is my 4th year there. So I've worked with the same teachers for, X number of years. Like they kind of know that pattern. A lot of them will, especially on my first day when I check in with them, they'll have like a little Post-it note with 3 or 4 quick things they want to ask me, or, hey, can you help me find a resource for this? So that'll give me, essentially things to work on for them that next day. It's my first year at Rocky Branch, so I'm still feeling that school out. But I have heard a lot of positive feedback already with just oh, I love how you come and literally check in with me every week.
Yeah.
So there's, it has definitely been received, fairly well, I would say.
Good.
There is always some pushback with whole
Of
group
course.
professional learnings. Like, I feel like a lot of teachers that I actually support would prefer the one-on-one meetings with me rather than those whole group trainings. But
Sure.
some things have to be spread to everyone,
Yeah.
so it's one of those, like,
Sure.
it's better done in a small group or
In
a
a
whole
group
group
set,
setting.
yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. So this is one, and I spoke last week with my site supervisor, Lindsay Brouillard, and we talked a little bit about budget and how, she felt like really on a large scale, as an ITS, maybe you didn't have a ton of say district-wide on budget. But Ryan, is there anything that you can remember in your last several years where you have been able to say, hey, there's a program, there's something, we need it, and gotten money designated towards that? Have you ever had any successes with that in the past?
Yeah, there's a couple that stand out. Pear Deck is one that we've really been kind of pushing, especially. That was super helpful, I would say, during our digital time, right, during
yes.
COVID. So that was a huge thing for us to have. And also Screencastify during the digital learning time was huge as well. We provide, feedback as much as we can. A lot of those like big decisions are made obviously above our head, but we had a decent bit of input onto the selection of Canvas LMS. So, I mean,
good.
We had trial accounts in a number of platforms, Canvas, Schoology. We looked at Blackboard, but didn't spend a whole lot of time with that. But we definitely spent significant amount of time and trainings with companies for both Instructure's Canvas and Schoology. And we definitely made the recommendation that Canvas kind of better fit the need of our county. So ultimately that's what the selection committee decided as well. But that was, we had I would say a pretty heavily weighted impact on that decision, just because we were the ones that were spending the most time in it. We essentially put together presentations like, here's what you can do in Canvas, here's what that looks like in Schoology, here's what you can't do in one that you can do in the others. And we tried to make it as essentially unbiased as we could, like, hey, here's the good things about this, here's the good things about this. And we weren't, we literally put together these presentations. We gave like an hour-long presentation to the committee. And I mean, it was some, admin at different schools. It was the curriculum directors. There were a few teachers in there as well. And it kind of came down point blank at the end of our presentation. The chief academic officer at the time, Claire Buck, was like, okay, so which one do you recommend? And that wasn't something that we had gone out and been like, oh yeah, build our presentation and steer people this way. But to us, it was clear that Canvas was the better choice. So while I would say that, like, we don't really make monetary budget decisions like that, we definitely have some input into some of the curriculum, or maybe not the curriculum, but some of the programs that are adopted. But yeah, I mean, Pear Deck and Screencastify are two that we pushed pretty hard for, especially during that digital learning time, because I mean, teachers needed a way to record and they needed a way to present, one-to-one with their students. And those seemed like the two best options, I would say, for us.
Yeah. So I was able to speak with Ms. Brouillard about the need at the high school level for a program called Progress Learning. And Progress Learning, which links so well into our Canvas programs, and you can assign it through and it's one of the things she just made happen, whether it was going before our administration or whatever. They found some funding somewhere. So it's nice to have a sounding board, and it's nice to have people who are willing in the technology field to fight for those programs. I think maybe with some vetting and making sure, they're what we need, but it's really good to have that, and that people who are willing to explore that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the county is pretty receptive to our input or recommendations that we're making. Sometimes it's you're limited by the budget that you have, for sure. but we were definitely happy to move from it starting to Canvas.
Oh,
Like
yes.
that was a big
Yes.
win for, I think, everybody in the
Absolutely.
county, regardless of the pushback we're receiving. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of that for
Sure.
anything that's new.
Anything that's
But
new. That's right.
yeah, exactly.
That's right. Well, just tell me, when you are doing a professional learning, you have basically a planning period or a certain set out time. Tell me about like maybe a little bit about the planning that goes into that, or how the delivery looks. Just tell me a little bit about that meeting itself.
Yeah, I really like to do kind of see one, do one when I'm doing my trainings. So a lot of times I will lead with just a demonstration, very informational. Hey, here's what this can do. Here's what that looks like. And then here's how you do it. And then I always give my teachers time to then either build or think about ways that they would utilize what we're talking about, and then get that hands-on experience of building one. I try to be cognizant of following up, like, hey, how did that go? But sometimes those just get lost in the busyness of the day to day. The ITS team is pretty good about we share resources, we develop resources together. So we try to work out at least at our grade level bands. So K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. We try to collaboratively plan and work out essentially a map of like, hey, here's the big topics that we need to cover this month. I already have this part of a presentation. Here's what I've built. Do you have anything? Things like that. So
Right.
a lot of that is made, at least for when I'm leading trainings, it's made on those Friday days, those days where I have, dedicated work time to put together that content. So
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, that's generally how I do it. It's like, here's the what, here's the why, here's the how, and then I give teachers time to kind of just try that out.
It's funny. And you being in the classroom, if you were to lecture for an hour and a half and just talk, I mean, the kids,
Yeah,
there's not
they
going to be
tune
a
you out
huge
after like 15
reciprocation.
minutes,
Yeah,
right?
it's going to be impossible. Adults are the same way. If I listen to any ITS talk for any amount of time, I'm going to lose some of that. So I think the see one, do one, fantastic. That's
Yeah,
worked really well here too.
sure.
So we have a technology committee. You made mention of that. Tell me a little bit about, maybe you did mention that there were some curriculum developers, you might say, and obviously some technology committee members. What school representation do you recall or do you know of who might be on those committees?
So generally it's going to be a teacher per grade level. That's kind of how they try to do it. At least one teacher per grade level from each school. So there's kind of two sides to this. There is the technology side where we have what's called the Tech Teacher Advisory Committee, right? So that's a group and that's a much smaller group. So that's going to be essentially one or two representatives from each school. It's usually a teacher or an admin. Sometimes it's both. The high schools, I think they go a little bit bigger. Maybe it's 2 or 3 representatives on those, just because that's a wider group of people. So the Teacher Tech Advisory meets monthly, maybe every 2 months, and it is very high level. It's like, hey, here's just kind of big things in technology. The goal of that advisory committee is to kind of get their hands on some of the tech early so that they can preview it. And be the leads, I guess, inside of the schools to kind of help push those things out if they become, those county initiatives. From the curriculum side, there are these action teams, right? So there's at the elementary level, I'll speak to because that's, where I'm most closely tied right now, but there is an action team for each subject. So there's a math action team, there's a language arts, there's a science and a social studies. And those are the ones that'll work more towards the curriculum component, building the instructional pieces, common assessments, things like that. So there's kind of two sides to the coin, which my lines are very blurred from time to time. It's like between the instructional tech piece, but also the curriculum and instruction, or the teaching and learning is the other department that at the county that handles that. So we kind of get looped into both of those, which, I mean, it does make sense to have us involved in those conversations because, I mean, instructional technology is all about the implementation of the teaching and learning side. So, so there's kind of committees on both ends, but generally speaking, teacher leaders at the school, plus admin throughout the, depending on the committee.
Yeah. All right, so our next couple of questions are fun. Well, one of them might be one might be a little telling.
Okay.
We'll start with best part of your job. What's the best part of your job?
Best part of my job is just being that support side. Just like if a teacher is, really needs something specific, like I'm the guy that helps them, create that. What's nice at the elementary level is I also get to push in to help lead some of these trainings, or like
Wow.
help use some of the technology with the students. That's definitely the piece that I miss the most out of not being a full-time classroom teacher, is like actually interacting with the students, those aha moments that they have. So I'd say best part of my job is those days where I actually get to push in and help lead lessons with the teachers. I've had a lot of success with some, not as much with others. Some
Sure.
teachers are very much, this is my classroom, like
Their
stay out of
domain.
here.
That's right.
Absolutely. It's like, all right, well, let me help you build some of the back end stuff. But I
Sure.
really do. And I really do enjoy being, out on the stage, like actually showing that off. And I mean, the kids get excited when they're using technology, especially in a new way. So
Yeah.
really the excitement. I'll tell you what, so I've pushed in with some kindergarten classes. That's actually like really the group that I've spent the most time with the past year. And they are just 100% energy the entire time. I lead like 1 30-minute training, and it's like a whole day's worth of work for me.
Yeah.
Or that's how it feels. I don't know how kindergarten teachers do it.
Me neither. Me
So that was a
neither.
lot. That was a lot of words to say. There really
No,
is
but
there really is a lot. There really is a lot of things that I enjoy about the job, but mostly like being in the class, helping lead some sessions with teachers. Yeah.
I think that's the great connection that former teachers have. You get the best of both worlds. You get to
Yeah,
see
I don't have to sit in parent conferences.
right,
I can
exactly.
go to the bathroom if I need to,
Exactly. There's some freedom there. That's exactly
For
right.
sure.
Okay, so the flip side, the most challenging, not the worst part, it's the most challenging. What's the most challenging part, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, the most challenging is making some of the district expectations fit for all of my grade levels. Like the rollout of Canvas looks very different in a fourth and fifth grade classroom than it does in a kindergarten or a PE classroom. So it's kind of
Oh yeah.
finding ways to meet the expectations that the county puts out there for all of those different grade bands. If you'd asked me last year, it would have been the most challenging is shifting from elementary on Monday and Tuesday to middle school on Wednesdays and Thursdays, because I mean, a lot of the things that I'm doing at the elementary level, maybe fourth and fifth would apply to sixth
Mhm.
through eighth, but it was a very different beast being between those two. So I am very, kind of excited and fortunate that I'm at one level the way that I am now. But I mean, kindergarten could not be more different from fifth grade. So
Right.
even still, there is that kind of wide gulf between those two. But yeah, the challenging part is finding ways to make, the expectations or the things that I'm, I guess, required to train on, try to make that relevant and make it fit in for all of those different grade bands.
That's I can't imagine.
Yeah,
That's
it is. You just have to kind of think about it. It's definitely one of the things that I mean, this is year 4 for me doing this, and it's still
yeah.
something that I kind of struggle with, especially kindergarten and those activity classes. Like STEM fits really nicely into the ITS mold, right? But PE or music class, not so much. And I mean,
No.
kindergartners, they're just learning how to be people, so there's
Right.
only so much you can do in Canvas with a 5-year-old, essentially.
So do you, when you're planning on Fridays, are you able to bounce some of your meeting ideas off of some of your, I guess, coworkers? I mean, your colleagues, obviously there are other ITS personnel with you. Are you able to utilize them as resources, or are you a resource? Or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely are. We definitely look at each other as a team that we can, share resources, bounce ideas off, collaboratively plan with. It's nice because on Fridays we're literally all in one big room at our computers. So we typically once a month we have like our division of technology meeting where we meet as a technology department. We discuss, that's kind of like the big level, like, hey, here's what everybody's working on, here's what that looks like. And then each week on Fridays, we have about an hour-long meeting as an ITS committee or as an ITS group. And that gives us time to collaboratively plan, talk about, concerns or celebrate those victories that we have, develop ideas. I mean, we do weekly tech tips, and we do that at the elementary and the secondary level. So we build those together. So it's that's one of our Friday tasks, is everybody's in on this, hey, what do we have for this? For instance, it's dot day is coming up this week. So we put, the elementary folks put together some dot day resources, and we kind of just shared that with each other. So yeah, we're very fortunate that we all work pretty closely together. I mean, my middle school background does give me some, insight into those secondary discussions as well. So even though I am primarily, this year I am all elementary, I still do kind of work with Brian and Lindsay with the middle school stuff, just because I did it for 3 years. So I've got some good resources and some, what I feel like is valuable insight there.
Awesome. Man, last question right here. So feel free to just shoot it straight. Any tips, recommendations for someone who is aspiring to be an ITS? Tell me what they are.
Yeah, I really wouldn't even know where to start. I would say don't lose sight of what it's like to be in the classroom, because I feel like that's kind of a point of maybe even contention for some classroom teachers that are getting, if you receive training, right, as the trainee, like, you're kind of being told all this stuff from somebody. And if it's somebody that hasn't been in the classroom for 15 years, like, I can see how that would be easy to just let that pass over you. You know what I mean? So I think having classroom experience is imperative. Like, I don't think you should be in instructional technology if you don't have, at least several years of that classroom experience. The more the better, because that really is what's going to allow you to tie what you're going to be training on, what you're going to be leading on. It's going to allow you to tie that into, hey, what actually works in the classroom? Because we can speak in, theories and philosophical and all this stuff, but if it doesn't actually apply in the classroom, then you might as well just, not present it, I guess.
Yeah,
but that would be the thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So, like, essentially my advice is don't lose sight of, like, where you came from being a classroom teacher, because that's really what's important, is being able to make those connections. Hey, is this going to work? How's this going to be received by those students? And I mean, I'm 4 years out. So that's why I love getting into the classroom with teachers, because it lets me see, like, okay, this, I mean, you don't do something for 4 years, you start to lose it, right? It is nice to be able to get into classrooms and actually, show what I'm suggesting these teachers do, like, and help them through it. So that would be my biggest thing, is, like, definitely, keep in mind and stay in tune with what it was like, or what it is like to be a full-time classroom teacher. I mean, and some of that even comes just down to strictly time, like valuing people's time for your training. Like, if I just have a quick thing, there's no reason for me to keep my teachers for 45 minutes if all I have is 20 minutes worth of stuff I need to show them. So yeah, awesome. that would really be the two things, like, value everybody's time, and then just keep in touch with, like, where you came from.
That's right. Keep it relevant. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I'm so thankful that I was able to reach out and get your perspective. I love talking to Lindsay, but she's also someone that I work with all the time. And just the opportunity to see your point of view and your perspective in the elementary level is really, really critical, because if, things go as planned, I might be in an elementary school, if I continue to go after this program.
I mean, my whole teaching background was middle school. So year one, becoming an ITS, split elementary middle, it was like it definitely was a eye-opening experience, let's say. I'd like to hear you tell the high schoolers to walk on your marshmallow toes, or, like, catch a bubble,
catch a bubble. Yeah.
Hips and lips, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, Ryan, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate it so much, and hope you have a great school year.
Okay, thanks a lot, and good luck with your rest of your program.
Thank you so much.